Hello and welcome back to Pectolas. My name is Shibu and I'm on a crazy mission. I am going to be reviewing 100 South African films in 100 days. Today is day 3 and we are reviewing Happiness Ever After. This is the second movie of the Happiness movie trio, I guess. We reviewed Happiness is a 4-letter word yesterday, and tomorrow we're going to be reviewing Happiness Is. But today we're on Happiness Ever After. This movie was directed by Thabang Moleya. He's back again. He directed the first movie. He's directing this one again, and it was released in... when was this movie released? 2021. So basically 5 years after the first movie first came out. And what's the film about? Okay, I'm just gonna read a quick synopsis of what IMDb says the movie's about, and then I'll tell you what I think the movie's about. So it says here that 5 years later, Zaza, Princess, and Zim live new chapters of their lives and loss. Reading is a skill. 5 years later, Zaza, Princess, and Zim live new chapters of their lives amid loss, family grudges, and new love. They tackle the journey of sisterhood, friendship, and romance together. Yeah, I agree. It's literally just like the first movie. We're following these ladies living their lives, but mostly focusing on their romantic lives, and then also focusing on the sisterhood that they have together, like the friendship that they have. And who are the main characters? So we still have Princess and Zaza from the first movie, but then Nandi was dropped from the first movie, and then they introduced this new character called Zim, right? And Zim is like the yoga instructor to Zaza and Princess, but somehow finds herself being in the friend group of the three ladies, and we sort of like follow them throughout the movie. Yeah, and similar to the first movie, these ladies are like now, doing well in their careers. They live in very nice places. Zim lives in this like penthouse style. I'm like, girl, is business doing that well? Because she's like a florist or something. I'm like, is business that great that you're living in that house? Hey, that is a proper looking nice house. Where we left off in the previous movie, Princess had just fallen pregnant or just had a baby with Leo, who was a drug addict and sort of just left her to raise the child all alone. So now moving into the second movie, Princess is doing very well in her career. We open the movie up with her doing like an art exhibition where Zim is doing the floral arrangements for. Princess has moved on. She's got a new man, man's looking good. They seem like a great pair. And they're raising the daughter that Princess had with Leo together. Then now with Zaza unfortunately is now widowed in the second movie. Her husband passed on. And we basically are then like thrown into this sort of like battle for the finances that her husband left behind, the assets that her husband left behind, the company, the house, basically everything that used to fund Zaza and her family's lifestyle is now being fought over between her and her husband's sister, who's another interesting character in this movie. So yeah, those are the basic characters. Ladies are doing well in life. They live in very posh looking nice houses, and yeah, that's where we are. What else can I mention? Who else is in the movie? So maybe I can talk about who is acting in the movie. So Kanyinbao is Zaza. They're still the same actress. Princess is still played by Renata Steelman. And then we have the lady who plays Zim. Her name is Nambita Ben Mazwi. She plays Zimkita. Then there's also Yonda Thomas, who's in the film. He plays Yonda. I wonder if that's like a thing amongst actors, like if if they ever wish to like play a character that's named after them, or it's just not a big deal. But Yonda plays Yonda Thomas in the movie. He plays Zimkita's love interest. Then we have Kolile Chabalala, who plays Fakazile, who is the sister-in-law to Zaza, and they're fighting over the assets that her husband left behind. Who else do we have in this movie? So Leo is played by Richard Lukunku. One of the two. I'm not sure. Then we also have Maxwell, who is Princess's new partner and co-parent, I guess, helping her raise her daughter. He's played by Daniel Etim Effiong. I really hope I'm pronouncing these names correctly. So yeah, that's basically the cast. Oh, also, there's some like surprise pop-ups of actresses that I really was not expecting to see. We have Rami Chweni. She's in the movie. So Yonda, who is Zimkita's love interest, is working on a dating app, and he needs investors to basically back his app and help him get to market. Rami Chweni plays one of the investors that he's pitching to. Then we also have Loyiso McDonald, who plays Tato. Tato is basically the lawyer at the company where Zaza's husband was working, or the company that he used to own, and he's sort of helping Zaza try and get her share of the assets that the husband left behind. Those are some nice surprise pop-ups in the movie, I would say. Also, Nandi Nyembe, like an OG South African actress. She was playing Zaza's mother-in-law, Beggie's mom. Yeah, I think we've covered the basics, and it's like been 10 minutes. But anyway, I'm gonna be reviewing this movie based on how many elements is it? I think I need to start saying in the reviews that this is basically like how I'm gonna be reviewing the form, so that it's easy for people. It's easy for you to also like know what to expect. So I'm gonna be reviewing the form based on basically like 7 aspects. The first being the mise en scène. That is French for something. Let me check. But I know it's like a term that is used in the film industry. Oh, mise en scène literally means staging. Oh wow, I think that perfectly describes what this section is about. So I'm going to be reviewing it based on 7 elements. First is the mise en scène, which is basically the staging. How do the filmmakers basically build up the world that they're trying to sell to you? This is going to be in the sets that they choose to use, the locations they choose to shoot at. It's going to be in the clothing, the costuming, the hair, the makeup, the props that are used on set. How does all of that contribute to the world that they're building, and is it something that like sells and is believable to you as the audience? Second, I'm going to be reviewing it on the writing and structure, basically how well the story is written. Is it easy to understand? Does it flow very well? Does it go into detail about what's going on in the film? And yeah, does it make sense? And does it support the overall story? You know, the writing, does it support the overall story and deliver it properly? That's just the second thing we're going to be reviewing it based on. Third is the acting and performance of the actors and actresses in the film. We have to look at how they deliver their performance, how they sell the characters to you, if they embody their characters very well or not. Then fourth, we're going to be looking at the cinematography. This has everything to do with how the movie is shot, how are things composed, how are shots composed, and how's the movement of the character, how does the lighting and camera movements and all those types of things contribute to the story that they're telling you, the themes that they're telling you. Like sometimes when the camera is moving very fast, it's trying to communicate a very chaotic moment, and sometimes if it's just a static shot for a long time, they're trying to communicate a moment where you need to sit with the emotions and let all of that simmer inside of you. That's the fourth element that we're going to be looking at. The fifth element is the editing. Editing it can be a tool that is used to sort of communicate the themes in the form as well. I'm not very well versed on this, and this is also part of the reason why I'm doing this 100 movies in 100 days series. I really do want to get my eye trained to notice a lot of the elements and to pick up on certain things, so that I'm a better viewer, I'm a better audience for films. I don't know if I've actually explained why it is I'm doing movie reviews on this channel, and maybe that's a story for another day. But in short, I've always asked myself why I feel the way that I feel after watching a film, and I know that film is like an art form, and there's so many elements that come together to communicate a message to an audience member, and I really want to be able to uncover that, dissect that, and absorb it. Anyway, that's editing. The sixth element we're going to be looking at is the sound and the music. So basically, what mood are they setting, and is it appropriately used music? Does the sound and the music fit the mood and the tone of the film and things like that? And then the last thing is just to look at basically the central themes and ideas that are being communicated in the film, and that's going to be obviously based on my perspective. And then I'll give you my final thoughts, and that will be a wrap. You ready? Took you 16 minutes to get to this point. You ready? Let's do this. So the first thing we're going to look at is the staging of the film, the mise en scène, baby. Okay. We're going to look at the staging of the film, and I think we're still shooting in Johannesburg, mainly like Sandton area. It looks very posh and affluent, and the places that they live at look very like fancy. They live in big houses, and they do yoga. I mean, yoga is really not an activity that's just done by anyone, especially if you're not of high financial status. You know what I'm saying? Like, in general, the average person would do gym and pay for a gym membership, and that's also like sometimes can be a luxury when you look at some of these gym membership costs. And so they do yoga, they go to art gallery screenings, they go to spas and things like that. So I think the staging of the film fits basically like the lifestyle that the ladies are living. I mean, you see Zaza's house, it's massive. It's a mansion. You can even see the car that she drives. Even when she goes and visits the company where her husband works, it looks very high corporate, high income earners. They're in the high levels of the building, where you literally have a view of the city. So I think they do a very, very nice job of communicating like the lady's financial status. As I mentioned earlier as well, Zimkhitha has this stunning penthouse. And my girl, business must be going very well for you to be living in this place. It's literally a penthouse, and she has a view of wherever she stays. It's gorgeous, right? So I think staging does a good job to just basically set the tone to say, okay, these ladies are not like your average ladies. They've done well in life. They've amassed quite a bit in their lives. Also in the dressing as well. Let me me think. This time around, the dressing was nothing that stood out for me. Except maybe the opening sort of scene where they all went to the gallery. But that's like an event that you would want to dress up at. Princess looks stunning. That like red dress with the white and red circles. Her hair, she looked stunning. Yeah, I think they stayed consistent to the first movie. They are showcasing how these ladies live, and they're doing a good job in that by showing where they live, the places that they visit, and it fits the perception that these ladies are. They good money wise, you know. I'm even willing to say that they're rich. Yeah, so I'll say that. Yeah, and I think that, you know, Kanye Mbao, Zaza, actually in the film still portrays that sort of like slay queen type of lady. You know, she's always got heels on, always got makeup on, hair's always looking posh and proper. She didn't do a lot of the weaves this time around the movie. She always had this pondo look. And then in terms of hair for Zaza, they did her so dirty in the last bit of the movie at Zimkita's surprise birthday. Lepondo la, she had no lepondo. She had no lepondo. Like, her hair was swept up. But I was looking for that pondo. It was not there. I could not find her pondo. And I was like, what did they do to this lady's hair? It just doesn't make sense. Like, where's her pondolai guy? Where's her ponytail? It was missing in action. That distracted me so much because I kept looking for that thing. Anyway, the staging of the movie, I think, did very well to communicate the lifestyle of the ladies and where they are. Yeah, the lifestyle of the ladies, basically, where they are financially in their lives as well. Now, and that fits their characters as well. So, yeah, that's basically that for the staging of the film. Next, we have the writing and the structure. Now I have beef. I have beef with the writers on this film. I'm developing a beef with these guys because, am I crazy for noticing that Princess's storyline in this film was basically a rinse and repeat of Nandi's storyline in Happiness is a 4-letter word? Let's do a comparison now. Princess in this movie is basically in a a very steady and serious relationship with someone. I mean, they live together, they're raising Princess's daughter together. Sharp. Same thing with Nandi. She was in a stable relationship with this guy Thomas, and they're raising Thomas's son together, basically. Well, Thomas had a child, right? That's point number one. Point number two, Nandi, in the previous movie, has this ex that sort of comes back into her life, right? And this ex did her dirty, basically. Same thing with Princess. Leo disappeared in the previous movie, and then he just comes back out of nowhere in the second film. Sharp. Third, right? Nandi tries to hide the fact that she's in contact with her ex from her man, right? Princess is hiding the fact that she's in contact with her ex from her man. Next, Princess dabbles with Leo and ends up cheating on her man with Leo. Nandi dabbled with her ex and ended up cheating on her man with the ex, right? And it's like, you guys surely could have done better. You could have thought of something else. Like, you dropped Nandi and just said, hey guys, let's just repeat what happened in the previous film with what happened with Princess in this film. It was lazy. It was so lazy. And yeah, I mean, I get the drama behind it, and it's like good to always be like, ooh, what's she gonna do? Ooh, this guy did her daddy, whatever. And I guess the plus I can give them this time around in the case of Princess's storyline is at least we know what happened between her and Leo. We didn't get that courtesy in the previous movie because when Nandi's ex came into the picture, we didn't know what had happened. All we know is that he ran off with her money. And same thing happened with Zinkita, right? Zinkita had this ex that basically left her and went on to marry someone else. And now when she's explaining what happened with her ex, she's like, no, this guy wanted an investment in his business, cryptocurrency, and then she gave him her money. And then the guy ran off with the money. That's what happened to Nandi. That's what happened to Nandi in the previous film. Nandi's ex basically took money from her and ran off, I think. But it's like, you're just rinsing and repeating storylines. Rinsing and repeating storylines in the film, and it was just, it's a lazy. I did not appreciate it at all. Now, let's move on to Zimne. Zimkita then is this lady, you know, she's been down on her luck in terms of love, and then she meets this guy Yonda, and basically Yonda is now a commitment phobe. Yonda doesn't want to commit. Does that not sound like Princess from the previous movie? Anyway, Yonda doesn't want to commit, and so they get into this like situationship between him and Zimkita. So they like friends with benefits. Well, according to Yonda, they're friends with benefits. Zimkita is sort of like hoping for more, right? And I think, yeah, fine. It was sort of understandable how they got into it and the relationship, how it developed and things like that. But then like towards the end, Yonda's coming in to sort of like profess his love because he found out once Zimkita left him that I actually like this lady. But it wasn't like really well presented in my opinion, because I just didn't understand when did you fall in love with this lady? Like, okay, yes, I know you guys were feeling each other, but you were so adamant and so serious about the fact that you don't want to commit. Then the movie moves on to other things, and then Jiggy wena. What's going on now? And then all of a sudden, when you actually miss this lady. So I think the writing was super lazy to me. It was extremely lazy. They rinsed and repeated certain elements of the previous movie and brought it back in this movie. And it was so blatant. Like Nandi in the previous movie and Princess in this movie, exactly the same storyline. Exactly the same storyline. Then the only sort of like interesting element then to this movie was Zaza's sort of storyline, where her and her sister-in-law were fighting over basically the assets that Zaza's husband left behind. And yeah, I mean, it was nice to just like get a different element and a different aspect of the movie, because it wasn't really focused that much on Zaza's love life, but more so like her tussle with the sister-in-law to make sure that her family is taken care of and things like that. So that was sort of like a breath of fresh air, I guess, from everything else that was happening in the movie. But there were certain elements in the movie where I felt like they were not really explaining things very well. I mean, towards the end of the movie, Zaza somehow finds the courage to say, and as she's joining the company, but I'm sure there's like business protocol. Can she just enter the company? How is she just able to say, I'm getting an office in this place and I'm gonna work? And they made it such a big boss, you know, a girl boss moment. Say like, oh, this lady is not to be messed with. I mean, the song that accompanied her finally stepping into this moment was busy calling her bad. And I'm like, but okay, girl, like, you can't just come up here and say you're giving me a corner office. There's protocol in companies. There's hiring processes. There's HR. You know, there's company policies. it's not just as easy as saying my husband worked here, so I'm gonna work here. So lazy. The writing was lazy in this film, in my opinion. So we're gonna move on now to the acting and performance. And I'm gonna start with Zaza. Listen, I will criticize where I feel there's critique needed, and I will give props where props is due. And Khanyi Mbau definitely leveled up her acting game from the first movie to the second movie. Listen, it was no longer performative this time around. Like, Khanyi Mbau was selling her character to me. It just felt so natural. It just felt like how a person would react in moments that she was dealing with. You know what I'm saying? So definite major massive improvement in Khanyi's performance that she gave of Zaza in this film. And across the board, the actors and actresses really delivered great performances. Princess was a standout performance in the previous movie. She is a standout performance in this film. Zimkhitha also, wonderful performance given by her. Actually, I want to go back to the writing. I want to go back to that because I forgot to add something. What I also didn't understand about the writing in the story, it was lazy. The other thing I didn't get about the writing in the story is the friendship that developed between Zaza, Zimkhitha, and Princess. Okay, fine. Zaza and Princess, we understand they're besties. We saw the sisterhood and the friendship from the first movie. That carries over into the second movie. Sharp. Zimkhitha is like the yoga instructor. But somehow she becomes besties with these ladies. Fine, they invite her to events and all these things. But I don't see how it developed into this hectic sisterhood. Like, where we share our problems with each other, and to the point where Zaza and Princess even hosted a surprise birthday celebration for her. I was like, when did you guys become so close? What's bringing you guys together? I don't get it. Like, the writing for me was poor. It was so poor, and the only thing that carried it was literally the drama surrounding these ladies' love lives. Right? Like, ooh, there's Princess, she's gonna cheat on her man. Ooh, look at Zim, she's with a hot new fling. That's literally all that they relied on. It's just that element of drama that surrounds romance films in general. So I didn't appreciate the writing at all. I did not appreciate the writing at all. It was super, super lazy in my opinion. Okay, now I'm gonna go back to the acting and performance. Acting and performance, I think, was well done throughout. I want to specifically mention the acting of Xolile Chabalala. She did such a great job because she was annoying me so much, and she had that, like, this element of like, I'm better than you, that she portrayed towards Zaza, and like, my English is of a higher grade. One line I will never forget is she says, we need to make sure all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. It's like, you need to make sure your English is sounding very British from the Queen of England. I could not deal with her accent. It was so insufferable. It's like, look at you thinking you're better than everyone and looking down on Zaza. So I think she did a great job because the point of her character was to be annoying and insufferable, and she delivered that very well because I could feel myself getting angry whenever she would come on to the to the screen. So yeah, man, across the board the acting was really, really good. Yonda also delivered a pretty good performance. I know he's normally like cast as like love interests. Most recently I saw him cast in Umjolo, My Beginning, My End. He's also the love interest in that, and it's no surprise, like, he's a very good looking guy, attractive man, and I think that they play into that quite a bit. In the film, you know, he's charming and very likable and things like that. So I think that he did deliver a good performance as well. Yeah, who else? Who else stood out? I think those are the standout performances. Loyiso McDonald, who plays Tato the lawyer, was not really showing much. He was not really showing much. He was more like a, what do they call, like a cameo type of actor in the film. Nambita Ben Mazwi also had quite a big role in this film as well, and she also delivered quite a very good performance. The performance all throughout was very nice. I mean, Nambita played like this girl next door, down to earth, you know, looking for love but not desperate type of character, and I think she played very well. She delivered her performance pretty well. So acting for me was good on the film. Next up, cinematography. For me, cinematography was not really anything stand out for me. So I'm going to keep this one short. It wasn't really anything that stood out for me. I think they were just capturing the film to make it make sense and for it to be coherent. Cinematography was not really out there for me. And then in terms of editing, I did note a few parts of the film that sort of like helped to stitch together scenes. So I'll give one example. There's a scene where Yonda and Zim basically bump into each other while Zim is jogging, and Yonda basically suggests to Zim that they go out to eat, and Zim says, we can eat, but then I'm gonna be cooking at my place. Then the following cut, then it cuts to like a pot of somebody cooking, but now it's at Princess's house. So I was like, okay, that's a nice way to like stitch together the two different scenes, because cooking was being talked about here, and then you literally go, the next scene is somebody cooking, but it's at Princess's house. There was another scene I must think of. Yeah, there was another scene where basically Zim is at her house, and she makes a smoothie, and while she's busy on her smoothie, she gets this notification that her ex is getting married, and it's all over Instagram. But they do like a nice quick cut and edit of her making the smoothie. So those little elements, those little like spice, Salt Bay pieces of like saying, let's level it up a bit on the editing. I note that. I take that into consideration. I appreciate it being sort of like used as an art form to communicate the story. But that's about it. I think besides that, cinematography and the editing was literally just done logically to deliver the story and package it in a way that is understandable to the audience. So that's going to be very short. Sound and music. So sound and music, because I won't lie, like I watched the film, and when I left the film, I was saying, I feel good. Like I feel good about the movie, right? It's only upon going to dissect that you're like, yo, guys, you don't have to be so lazy when you're coming up with a film, right? Like when you actually go down and study the elements of it, it is a bit lazy. But in terms of like my feelings towards the movie, I felt nice. I felt good watching the film, and I think that had to do a lot with the music and the sound that they used in the film. It was very like upbeat, groovy bass type of sound, and it's like gets you in a good mood. I noted that quite a bit, to say that the music was really playing into that upbeat, like uplifting, groovy, monadi type of music, and it was done very well because it wasn't disjointed from the film, sort of like to say, oh, we're just playing this music because we want you to feel good, but it has nothing to do with actually the film. So I think they did a good job. And I don't know where I'm going to place this sort of critique, but it's not critique. I think it's probably going to be underwriting. When the movie starts, we start with Princess doing an opening at her gallery, right? And she says that the theme for the gallery, or the exhibition is the word I'm looking for. The theme for the exhibition is the concept of breathing. That, you know, sometimes we get so caught up in life and everything that's happening around us that we don't actually stop to enjoy the little moments. And the little moments in life, we don't stop to just breathe, right? And I think that this carried over into the sound design, or the sound element of the movie, because you would find a lot of like breath, like actual breathing sounds being used in the film. One element where it was used is when Zimkita had just found out about she got the notification about her ex getting married on Instagram. Then you hear this fast-paced like breathing to almost like indicate that somebody's hyperventilating. Something you'd expect when you are given very, I guess, unexpected news, bad news. You get that fast-paced ventilating breathing. There's also a scene where basically Yonda surprises Zim at her apartment, and they go to get it on. But like when he arrives, it's like this breathing sound that's being that's being used or that's being implemented in the film. So I think the sound element of it tried to play into that sort of like beginning of the film. In terms of like the overarching story and breathing and stopping and all these things, I didn't see them selling it very well in the film, which I think was a missed opportunity. But sound and music, I think, really carried this film for me. It carried it. Because I think that the feeling that I had leaving the film was largely due to the music. It was very upbeat. You know, it kept you light. It kept you, you know, in a good mood, so to speak. Yeah. And lastly, what were the central themes and ideas in the film? What messages or ideas is the film exploring? For me, it's the same as the first one. Friendship, sisterhood. In the case of Zaza, it's sort of like standing up for yourself. It's like finding your power. Actually, I think that is like a thread actually also throughout the ladies. Zaza had to find her power, you know, to understand that, listen, man, you can't control me. And yes, I know that I may not be the person that you expected your brother to marry, but I am here and he loved me and I deserve to be here. Stepping into her power. Zimkita also stepped into her power when she started realizing that Yonda was playing on and off with her, hot and cold with her. She cut the nonsense. She was like, you know what? I'm not dealing with this nonsense. Stepped into her power. Princess had to deal with Leo now also being a very unstable figure in her life. Unstable figure in her daughter's life as well. And she also had to be strict with that, stepping into her power. So sisterhood, friendship, stepping into your power, and then also romance. You know, navigating romance. And yeah, those are what I will say the central themes and ideas of the film were. Then my final thoughts, as I think I pretty much touched upon all of this in saying that I felt good watching the film. I and I think that it hit a lot of the nostalgia of the first movie in terms of like the relationship aspect, the romance aspect. And you know, it's like nice to, well, especially for me, I do love a good romance film. It's nice to sort of see people, you know, getting to know each other, falling in love and things like that, of which, as I mentioned already, was not very well implemented in this film, especially in the case of Zim and Yonda. Like, you could see them building a relationship together, but I missed the element of, especially Yonda, falling in love. But then he goes to profess his love at the end. Anyway, yeah, I think that the movie, yeah, it left me feeling very nice. Did it succeed in communicating its themes? I don't think it did. I think it was literally just playing on your emotions and playing on, you know, the elements of loving to watch romance movies, loving to watch drama, loving to watch people navigating their lives. But in terms of its themes, I don't think it communicated it very... am I being harsh? It succeeded in some of them. It succeeded in some of them, to be honest. It succeeded in the sisterhood element of it. Although I will say I didn't understand how Zim became a sister in the friendship, or from just being a yoga instructor. Yeah, the writing let this movie down, honestly speaking. So I'll say it succeeded in some elements and didn't succeed in others. The romance element of it didn't do very well of communicating it, but then on the sisterhood side it tried, and mostly because of Zaza and Princess's pre-standing relationship that we're already familiar with. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. In terms of a rating, I actually want to review a rating, like not review, like change my rating. The first movie, Happiness, is a 4-letter word. I want to knock it down to a 4 out of 10. And in this film, I'm going to give a 5 out of 10. And that 5 is heavily carried by the sound and the music of this film, and also the acting in the film. Writing, no. I was not very impressed with the writing in this film. I was very disappointed in the writing in this film. It was lazy. The writing was super lazy. Anyway, that is it for day 3 of 100. We did it. We got through it. I will see you guys. I will see you tomorrow for day 4 of 100. We're reviewing the last movie in this series, Happiness Is. So yeah, see you tomorrow. Bye.